Okay.
Hi, Kazi. All right, you're going to welcome us. We'd like
Yeah.
to welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here at another Tuesday evening. Present happiness. Join us for present happiness, and happiness only happens in the present because it doesn't happen in time. The funniest thing is that has a lot to do with tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is make no bargains, make no bargains, or make no agreements, or have no expectations, or make no assumptions. Because all those things take place in time. When anything takes place in time, the ego is present. Ego is not present in the present, only in time. So whenever we enter into special relationships where we agree to something, make no agreements, make no bargains, and make no bargains. I like to speak about Ken Wapnick. He used to say all the time, and I think it's a line right out of the Course in Miracles: make no bargains with duality. Make no bargain with duality. I think that's a line in the Course, but he used to use it a lot. And when you make a bargain with duality, of course, you're making a bargain with somebody outside of you, which is basically separate from you. And you kind of get the idea that as long as you enter into that deal, that bargain, that agreement, you're expecting something. And most of our upsets come from what I call thwarted expectations, expectations that are unmet. In fact, nonviolent communication, which some of you do know, it's very widely used by a lot of people. I know that Amy Anderson, who teaches on freedom of forgiveness, both here at ACIM Gather, when I mean that's our home for the last 15 years. She also teaches at Maureen Muldoon's on the same topic. It's called freedom of forgiveness. She uses nonviolent communication. She shows you all the emotions that come up when you have unmet needs. I was in her class last night, and believe it or not, I saw something that I wouldn't ever expect that I would say is one of my unmet needs. A lot of you know that I speak a lot about betrayal because Jesus speaks about it on page 95 of the textbook in Lessons of the Crucifixion. And in it, he talks about Judas. And Judas is the only person, Judas is the only person in the entire course of 1,300 pages that Jesus actually mentions by name, outside of the name Adam, which is just symbolic for all of mankind. He doesn't mention any of his apostles. He only mentions Judas. And he says, listen, my own apostles, out of their own anger, upset, and guilt, certainly did not understand what I was saying. In fact, he says that they were asleep in the garden, and he's not talking about they were snoring. He means that they weren't aware, they were unconscious, they were under the ego's influence of seeing things that didn't really happen, illusions. So he said if they really understood me, they never would have said to Judas, thou betrayest. They never would have heard me say, thou betrayest me with a kiss, when my whole life was I did not believe in betrayal of any kind. And I often talk about that, and it never occurred to me that actually that's one of my own things is betrayal. I mean, you could say, Dev, do you believe in betrayal? I say, no, actually you can't be, because in dream roles it says nobody can betray you except the role that you assign to them, which means that we're really in a script. We're all here together supporting each other's lessons. Yes, somebody in my dream has to kind of trigger me so that I can learn the lesson that I came here to learn. So the people that trigger you, it may seem like they are somebody that you don't want around you, but actually that's where your real lessons are. As Ken Wapnick would say, don't hang out with people where they make you feel warm and fuzzy. You don't have any lessons with those people. Hang out where it's not too comfortable. That's where your lessons are. Yeah, actually, in my own counseling, I always say, be grateful for your triggers because they reveal your mistaken beliefs that you still believe in. That's why it triggers you. You have a mistaken belief. So in this world, it's so easy to enter into an agreement, somebody you meet and they say, well, let's be, let's have a honeymoon. Let's get married. And, and you say, yeah. And then of course, that's a special relationship. And all special relationships basically are put together by the ego. The special relationship is the ego's crowning glory. I say that because the ego knows sooner or later somebody is not going to keep their agreements. So if someone doesn't keep your agreements, what happens? Well, immediately the mind goes into the past and you say, wait a minute, this is what you said. As soon as you go into the past, guess what? The ego is controlling your thoughts and you're already blaming the other person. You said this and now you're not keeping your word. And at worst, it looks like you want to get revenge. And at best, you just see them as guilty. They didn't keep their word. They're dishonest. Yeah. And of course, if you see your brother is dishonest, then you understand that projection makes perception. Who are you speaking about? If I spot it, I got it. If I spot dishonesty or deception or betrayal in somebody, and if I blame them, which of course in the ego thought system, that's the first thing you do. It's a knee-jerk reaction. You said this, but you didn't keep your word. Well, yeah, the one who says that really isn't the Son of God. The one who says that basically is the ego speaking to me because I feel hurt. I was listening to one of the old teachers of A Course in Miracles. He was saying how he used to hate people who came late. He said, I always come on time. And I have so many people in my life who come late. He says, he says, I have no respect for anyone who comes late. And he knew it didn't have to do with him because he was always on time. And then one day it hit him that he doesn't pay his bills on time. He's way behind on all of his bills. The credit card companies are always calling him. And he realized it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Don't get fooled by form. The moment you see something that you don't like about another, you're always speaking about yourself. So tonight, basically, we're going to take a look at the fact that, as the topic says, make no bargains. And I could probably stop at this moment. We are going to do a process. We're going to do I call it Ho'oponopono. You can call it anything you want. We do a process, and I choose to do as Amy Anderson does. She does it with God, because actually, even though it seems like it has to do with somebody else, as Mother Teresa says, hey, listen, if people break their word, love them anyway. If people don't like you, if they don't accept you, forgive them anyway. Because in the end, it was never between you and them. There is no them. I mean, Jesus tells you in, I think it's chapter 18, section 6. I believe it's not, maybe not. It's in the section, the shortest section in the course called your appointed friend. It's less than one page, and it starts off. Well, I might be wrong about the source of the thing, but anyway, it's the idea that if you think that there's somebody outside of you doing something, he tells you there's nobody outside of you. There's nothing outside of you. This is what you must ultimately learn. And as John Mundy said to me, ultimately means now. If I think there's something outside of me, I'm just doing what the ego does. Well, you know, there's a body over there, there's two bodies over there. No, there's no bodies outside of you. I am spirit. We are spirit. We are in the one mind of God. There's nothing outside of the one mind of God. But as long as I think that somebody is doing something, or they should have done something, or I wish they did something, and I have unmet expectations, who am I speaking about? I'm speaking about myself. Yeah, I betrayed myself. I denied myself. He tells you in the chapter 7, section 7, he says, denial is as total as love. Denial is as total as love. Now, love is all there is. I mean, if you're doing the course, you kind of got that only the love is real. But if you deny a brother, if you see your brother as doing something to you, as hurting you or betraying you, you have denied the love of God. So he tells you that denial is as total as love is. Love is total. But the moment you deny even one brother, you've denied the love of God. And when you say you deny the love of God, you're denying yourself. I'm in self-denial, self-doubt, self-betrayal. You can use the word betrayal. That's what I've done. I betrayed myself by listening to a voice that's not my own voice, but thinking that I was right, that this person hurt me. They didn't keep their promise. So again, I say, make no bargains, because whenever you make a bargain, you're putting the outcome into the future. Well, I'll do this if you do that, which we call a special relationship. And you assume that they're going to keep their end of the bargain. Oh, you know, you're going to keep your end of the bargain. But if either of you break it, of course, they're going to break their end of the bargain first, and you're going to go into upset. But he tells you in lesson 5, I am never upset for the reason I think. Yeah, I'm upset because I listened to a voice telling me to be upset that somebody didn't keep their word. They broke their promise. But that's what a bargain is. It's a promise. We basically broke our promise to God. Not in reality, but that's what the ego says. Hey, listen, if you didn't break your promise, you wouldn't be here hanging out alone in the body. But remember, I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created. That's accepting the atonement for yourself. That's what forgiveness actually does. Forgiveness actually frees you from the ego's thought system. And our only function in this world basically is forgiveness. And forgiveness is not forgiving the other person, by the way. I mean, you could use it that particular way, but that's not what Jesus is talking about. He's talking about letting go of the thoughts that do not serve you anymore. The last time I was on a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about looking into the mirror. And I said I had no need to look into the mirror anymore, in that bathroom mirror.
Mhm.
Well, tonight's the same thing. I have no need to make bargains promises about the future and hope that one day the bargain is made. No, some will be made and some won't. But the ones that hurt us are the ones that don't. And this course is about healing your mind of the things that hurt, healing the mind of those things that we see others as guilty for, healing our mind and recognizing that nobody did anything to us. The secret of salvation. Does anyone know the secret of salvation? I do this to myself. Of course, the other secret that I mentioned here once is relax your mind, release your thoughts, and let go. So if you had that knee-jerk reaction that somebody didn't keep their words to you, they promised this and they didn't keep their promise, guess what? They're actually your best friend. They are actually your best friend. I'm looking for something that was in today's review lesson number. Some of you, if you're doing the daily review lessons, you know that today is review lesson 60, which covers the last 5 lessons, 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50. And I'm looking for something which I found this morning, which I never really saw before. Oh yeah, here it is. It's in the review of lesson 48, which says there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. And if there is nothing to fear, you can call yourself fearless. And as the Course says, only the fearless can know God. Only the fearless can know God. And he tells you in lesson 48, there is nothing to fear. This is a fact. He doesn't use the word fact often, by the way. Maybe it's 2 or 3 times in the Course he uses the word fact. There's nothing to fear. This is a fact. And then he says, it's not a fact for those who still believe in illusions. So if you're still believing in you and me and us and them and good and bad, and, this guy didn't keep his promise, you're still believing in illusions, then there's something to fear. I'm going to put up in the chat. You don't have to go look for it now, but I'll just read it. This is what it says. When you become fearless, meaning you have no fears, you're not hanging on to anything. See, if you have fears, you're still hanging on to something. And what we're hanging on to is our defense system, because somebody has hurt me and I got to protect myself. In fact, I'm so angry, I want to get revenge on them. And as you know from lesson 23, if you don't like the world you see, don't lament the world. The world comes from our own attack thoughts. The attack thoughts are in me, it's not out in the world. So it says, if you become fearless, everyone and everything I see will lean towards me to bless me. And I will recognize in everyone my dearest friend. Everyone and everything I see will lean towards me to bless me. I use that expression many times here. The ego thinks that things are against you, and when in truth, everything is for you. That very famous paragraph from lesson 135, paragraph 18. What can you not accept if you but knew that everything that seems to happen, past, present, and even to come, is gently planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good. And for those of you who know where that is, it's lesson 135. It's paragraph 18. And I always like the number 18 because in the Hebrew, it means chai, which is another word for God. and l'chaim means life. So you get an appreciation of what life energy is when you see that everything is for you. When you live in fear, how can you have an appreciation of life? Because you're holding on for dear life. You're holding on for dear life. Kind of reminds me of what happens on a roller coaster. Two kinds of people. People are holding on for dear life, and the knuckles are white, holding on, and others say, "Hey, I'm having a good time." So it depends on whether you're afraid or not. So there's that paragraph 18. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, all, doesn't say most events, says all events, past, present, and even to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good. Are there any thoughts on this at all? Anyone has anything at all? And then we'll do a very short process. Anyone at all? Do you have any questions? Anything come up? Yes, Suzanne, go ahead.
I just want to say how easy it is to forget what you just said. I found myself on a rant today, and you've just helped me a lot by, and it's not that I don't know that stuff, but all of a sudden, it feels like, okay, that was your lesson today, and now what do you need to do about that? What did you learn? Rather than, oh, I'm so bad. So instead of the guilt thing, what I'm sitting here saying is, oh, I'm still doing that. And I don't need to do that. So thank you.
Suzanne, what you said is so important. I'll mention the thing that you said that jumped out. What is the lesson here? Everything here is a lesson. Basically, the world's a classroom. We come to learn lessons. So I use the mantra lesson 25 for many years. I do not know what anything is for. The ego knows what everything is for. That SOB, do you know what he did? And it has a whole story on what he did. No, I do not know what anything is for. Always go to the Holy Spirit and say, what is this for? I do not know. When you go to the Holy Spirit and you're willing to hear what your lesson is, you'll hear it. It will be given to you. But if the ego,
that's what I got from you. I got that from you tonight. By saying that, it was like, of course. The reason I jumped in and did that thing today to that poor woman, she was very nice, but she was getting it. But the whole point is that I guess I needed to do that in order to say, don't do that. It's not real. All the stuff that I'm still have grievances about, it somehow got triggered.
And
so
go ahead.
I'm here tonight being sent by the Holy Spirit to hear this so that tomorrow I can get in a better place. So thank you.
Yes. And I want you to know it takes practice. I've been doing the course more than 40 years, actually. And I can tell you that I still get knee-jerk reactions, but you catch yourself a lot faster. You don't have to go through the whole tirade. You just, okay, what is this for? Ask of all things of this world, what is it for? Because this is not your home. This is not your home. We don't live under the laws of this world. We live under the laws of God, which has nothing to do with duality. So when you have a knee-jerk reaction, it's always to do with somebody out there. I want to blame somebody. Blame, shame, and guilt is the ego's 3 pyramid for its monument to itself. Someone has to pay for what's going on. And I'm sure you all heard the thing. Let's get to the bottom of this. No matter what happens, let's get to the bottom of this. That only means let's find out who's guilty.
Right.
Let's punish the one who did that. Punish what? We're punishing ourselves. If you see anybody is guilty, I'm punishing myself. The whole course is about the Son of God is guiltless. But if projection makes perception, it only means that, well, I don't want to see myself as wrong. guilty, thinking that I betrayed God. I'd rather somebody else be punished, not me. So of course I have that knee-jerk reaction. But as they say in New York, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. So as you practice not having that knee-jerk reaction and ask more often, what is this for? All of a sudden, that knee-jerk reaction is not there for you anymore. You'll smile and laugh a lot more instead of taking it seriously. There's nothing in
guilt
it.
thing.
Go ahead.
guilt-
I'm sorry.
The guilt thing is the thing, because the reason that, you want to blame that person is because they said something to you and they had no right. And now you're guilty, actually. And so what you're going to do is make them guilty. See, you
course.
should do
Yeah.
that. And so it's if you attack, you will be attacked. And so when
Yeah.
you get caught in that, somebody attacks you, and instead of laughing and saying, whoa, what's this for? You attack back. And that is such a knee jerk. That's so big for me.
Now, as the Course tells you, the ego speaks first and loudest.
Mhm.
There's a woman by the name of Reverend Mary Gerard Lenahan. She has a website called pauseforinspiration.org. She doesn't speak in Christian terminology, doesn't use any kind of religious words, but she does the same thing. It's actually taught in a number of schools. She's from St. Louis. It's taught in some of the schools in St. Louis. People come from other cities and learn from her. And basically, it's the Course in Miracles without any religious terminology. And basically, it says the same thing the Course says, but she puts it in very plain language. She says, no matter what happens, pause, meaning step back, step aside, and allow inspiration, that's another word for spirit, to step forward. The Course uses the word go to the Holy Spirit. She puts it in very common everyday language. Let me pause for inspiration. Corporations and companies are using this and learning from her, teaching it to their employees. So employees don't have that knee-jerk. We all have that knee-jerk reaction. If you have an ego, you have a knee-jerk reaction. It's that simple. But to pause, step back, and step aside. Notice that's the same thing as lesson 155. If you're familiar with 155, let me step back and let him lead the way. That's the name of the lesson. Let me step back and she just put it in very easy, common, everyday language, but she has a huge following. You can find her at pauseforinspiration.org.
Okay.
And she'll send you a lot of free material, by the way. She's very well connected that particular way. So if there's no more questions, I would say, why don't you take a few deep breaths, put both feet on the floor, not like I have right now, and you can close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and we're going to ask the Holy Spirit for clarification. We're going to ask to remember the benefits of being a son of God. Holy Spirit says this world is full of miracles. They stand in shining silence next to every dream of pain and suffering, of sin, guilt, blame, shame. And you're entitled to miracles because of what you are. You will receive miracles because of what God is. And you will offer miracles because you are one with God. Again, how simple is salvation? It's merely a statement of your true identity. It is this that we will celebrate today. My happiness and my function are the same. My function is forgiveness. My happiness and my function are the same. So we say to our Father, Father, I was mistaken in thinking that you didn't give me the love and you gave it to somebody else. No, God is the love in which I forgive. Father, I was mistaken when I thought that I couldn't trust you. No, God is the strength in which I trust. Father, I thought there was reason to have fear that somehow I was unfairly treated and I had to defend myself. No, there's nothing to fear. This is a fact. Father, I was mistaken when I thought that you didn't know me, that I needed to find someone else. No, God speaks to me all through the day. His voice is in constant communication with me. Father, I was mistaken when I thought I had to strive and strain and stress to survive. No, I am sustained by the love of God forever, now and forever. And this is true for everyone. Yes, all my misery comes from my strange belief that I am powerless, a victim, weak, and none of this is true. It's I have a belief that I have betrayed myself. I've denied myself. Let me forgive myself by denying the denial. I was never betrayed, and I never betrayed. What I believed to be true was simply a dream. And when I awake, I will look back and smile and laugh at it all, knowing that none of it is real. None of it is real. Thank you, Father. I love you, Father. Thank you so much. Your will for me is perfect happiness, and I share your will for my happiness. God being love is also happiness. I being love is also happiness. And for all of this, we give thanks and gratitude. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. God walks with me all through the day. God speaks to me all through the day. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. In the one mind of God, there's nothing outside of this one mind of God. And for all of this, we say, Amen. Anyone want to share? John, did I see your hand up? No. No, okay. Anyone want to share, please do. I'll turn the mic over to you, Rosalind.
You turning the mic to me, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. Well, before you did, I just want to correct something.
Sure.
The video that you sent, you meant, did you mean to show it tonight or did you want it on there?
Oh, you can play. It's an audio. It's not a video.
It's an audio, yeah.
Yeah, it's 9 minutes long. You could play it if you want. I kind of said the same thing already.
Yeah, I loved the way you did it, but I thought, did you mean for me to send it with their Zoom number? I didn't know.
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah, I thought it would be in the message, but that's okay.
Oh.
I know it would have been confusing because they're both links, and I think it would have been confusing.
I
So
can still send it on the replay if you would like people to
Oh,
hear it.
yeah, sure.
Okay, next
Sure.
time I'll clarify if you want it sent ahead or you want it shown.
That's okay.
Okay.
Everything happens perfectly.
Yes, yes. Well, I would like to share, before I take over in a leadership role, I would like to share, I've had the most incredible week of appearances that look like mistakes. I mean, one after the other, and not just like I didn't turn the video on. I mean, errors everywhere. And the only understanding I have is to establish myself more and more as the impersonal self. That is the only sense it makes out of these mistakes. I'll just give you one example. I mean, none of them are more important or less important. So it really doesn't, I really don't need to give you examples, but a lot of them were very public, and it wasn't like, so I was hosting for Jennifer Hadley. So I wasn't the speaker, and the host has these jobs, they introduce these people. And the host was supposed to be this woman. And I didn't think to look around to see if she was there. She's always there when it's her job. Well, I introduce her, read her whole bio. She's not there. There's a substitute, there's somebody else. But, one thing after the other. But I mean, all week, and it's either my mistake, not all of them are my mistakes, all very public, but big. Like, we sent out a flyer for a big class that's starting, and the wrong time was put on it. Like, none was bigger or smaller, but every time one of these things happen, what I do is change my viewing place. If I view them from the personal self, oh, I hurt this person, I hurt her feelings in a group by blah, 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 blah. Now it goes on and on. The mistake, the mind goes on and on and on, what I did or what the other person did or so on, just like what you're talking about tonight. But if I view myself from God's place or from awareness or from outside of myself, seeing this happening, it changes everything in an instant. Sometimes there was still a little physical left. It sometimes took a little longer for the physical reaction to go away of the mistake. But the point was not to get rid of the feeling of the mistake. The point was to remember what I am. And then, as you said, Dove, there are no mistakes. So I would like to read you something that feels like a really good fit with Dove's talk tonight. And it comes from the book, The Greatest Secret. And this is the author that originally put together The Secret that you've all seen the video or heard about it. all about manifestation. And this is a book on non-duality. But I opened it to this page and it fit exactly what I thought Dove was saying and what I just shared. So it's a few sentences I'm going to read, and then we'll do our meditation. A single belief has prevented us from making the greatest discovery, the belief that we are our body and our mind. So that's the basis, right? You are not your body. Your body is a vehicle you use to experience the world. Your body isn't conscious. Believing you're your body creates the biggest fear of humanity, the fear of death. What you actually are never dies. You're not your mind. Mind is only thoughts. If there are no thoughts, then there is no mind. You're not a thought, a sensation, or a feeling, because if you were, when they end, you would end too. Your body and mind together make up what we call a person, the imagined self. That's what I was calling the personal self. A person is what you experience. It is not what you are. We can never have true, lasting happiness while we hold on to the belief that we're a person. You are experiencing a body, experiencing a mind, and having the experience of being a person, but they are not you. That's another way of saying a lot of what Dove said. That's where forgiveness takes you. That's where remembering what you are, God's son, in the words that Dove used. That's where you get to when you remember that there's nothing to fear. So let's just take a few minutes and first recall what Dove was suggesting: a betrayal, someplace, somewhere you made a mistake or somebody else made a mistake. They were wrong or you were wrong. Ego doesn't care who's wrong. It doesn't care who's not enough. As long as you're on that subject, life as a person, as a separate being, can continue. But let's go to this place. First, let's remember an incident, a betrayal. You were not given the right respect. You were not treated as you should, or you think you should have been. You made a deal for the future, like Dove was saying. You made an arrangement. And then you got disappointed because it was a special relationship. It was a future. It was in time. And it fell through. So you have one of those, everybody. I'm assuming it didn't take that long. So now you're into it. You have upset feelings. Let's just park those feelings. And quickly, like if we're having it right now, the experience, let's move straight out to what is witnessing that experience. There has to be something underneath the changeable thoughts that is the you that Dove referred to as the Son of God. That's not the personal self. It's not what's called the ego. It's something that you have always known as you. And you're a different age and your body changes, but you're still you. Now let's view that incident, that betrayal, that whatever you want to call your mistake, somebody else's mistake, you were wronged. Let's view it from outside yourself, the real self that is awareness, that is aware of your experience. It's not the experience. You're aware of the small self having that experience. A Course in Miracles says there's only ever one problem, and that's a belief in separation. And tonight I'm calling that the personal you. But we don't have to have that viewing point. When we do Ho'oponopono, we're not having that same viewing point. We're releasing, we're letting go. We're not resisting what we really are. And it's easy. We can just step out for a moment, take that pause, like Dove said. Take that pause and go to the awareness. What is aware of that feeling, that thought, that personal self? And now you have a different location, a different viewing point. And it turns out that's enlightenment. That's a knowing of who and what you really are. That's a glimpse. That's freedom. That's the love of God. That's the atonement. That's everything. And see if you feel like it's neutral, like it's not exciting with lights, but it's the absence of suffering. And that's why people call it the peace that passes all understanding, or joy, or happiness, because it's the absence of suffering. And I don't want to bring you back to the hurt place. You can stay in this place and have your experiences. If you come back to the room, let's with soft eyes again experience our brothers and sisters in the room with the eyes from the awareness, not the personal eyes. And you can bring this memory, this experience, anytime you want. It's a memory that you just have to go outside yourself. Take that pause. We've done enough awareness experiences here and all the places you go. You can tap into it if you just remember it. I'm telling you, it solidified so much more deeply what I really am when I had all of these mistake experiences and just had one lesson after the other, going back to awareness. And you have as many experiences too. They may not all be in one theme. You may have various themes. So Lynn, you have your hand raised, please.
Lynn?
Sorry, let me get coordinated here. Hi, I'd like to share about what happened to me, and I had good experiences with it. I fell last week, I broke my wrist, and I just knew what I had to do. I had to go along with the flow. And, for a holy instant, I saw nothing really changed. Nothing really changed. And it was, I got a nerve block. And I don't know if anybody else got that, but ever had that, but it's really weird. You don't feel your arm at all. like it's dead weight. And so, yes, I was feeling very maternal towards it. And I said, I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. And I don't know. I don't know why this happened. I don't know what anything is for, but I'm just going to go through it and do what I have to do, and more will be revealed. And I'm icing it now, but it's good to be here. I missed it. I missed a lot of my spiritual groups, of course, of this. But Rico, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much.
We're so glad you're
You were
here.
in our prayers, Lynn. Worry not.
Mwah.
You were very loved and missed.
Oh, thank you so much. Same here.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Arba, would you read what you wrote? Would you be willing to read what you wrote?
Sure. I'm on my cell phone, so that's why I'm not on camera. So this is a selection from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and it says, "You are not enclosed within your bodies, nor confined to houses or fields. That which is you dwells above the mountains and robes with the wind. It is not a thing that crawls into the sun for warmth or digs holes into the darkness for safety, but a thing free, a spirit that envelopes the earth and moves in the ether."
It's beautiful. Thank you.
So beautiful, Arba. Thank you. John, you have your hand up.
Just briefly, I just want to say a thing about that exercise we did and the mistakes. And I want to thank you guys for bringing that mistake things up, because this is piggybacking on what happened to me last week, which was monumental. But the thing that I got today was actually really bounced off Suzanne, because I realized my mistake was embedded over a long period of time. So it was just, he kept on going and going. So I had a chance to do this betrayal thing, you know, that I've done myself. And what I really loved was how it came about, because even as I go to awareness and watch it and watch myself in that is one thing, but I was able to transfer it to my father and, you know, transfer him as the neutral one, because he was the all loving one, you know, and you know, it was, so it's just amazing. And then I did another one, just a fly on the wall watching this. So it's kind of a dissociative technique where I can, you know, just get out of it long enough just to witness it. And I think that was, you know, that was monumental. I just wanted to say that and to thank you very much for a wonderful, wonderful event tonight.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Dov. Your talk was wonderful. Really wonderful. Dov?
Are you talking to me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. When you were speaking, Rosalind, I was thinking, you know, you were saying I made so many different faux pas, mistakes, whatever. And I have said for many years that the entire Course in Miracles, all 365 lessons, can be found in lessons 1 and 2. That's the entire course. 1 says, nothing I see here means anything. And it does take practice to be able to apply that. So when something happens, and this, and what brought it up is what John was just talking about, that, you know, I made this mistake and it stuck with me and it stuck with me. Well, the only reason it sticks with you is the ego is in charge. Ego is in charge of all mistakes. The way to neutralize any mistake is lesson number 1. It doesn't mean anything. Now, it does take practice, and not only practice, and you're not just saying the words. You have to really, as he says in lesson 185, I want the peace of God. He says to say these words, meaningless, but to mean it is everything. That's lesson 185. The same thing with lesson 1. It seems like such an innocent lesson. Like, nothing I see here means anything. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me go on to lesson 2. Well, in lesson 2, it says, well, listen, son of God, just in case you think anything here means anything, just remember, you're the one that gives all the meaning to it. That's why we suffer. We give meaning to the meaningless. The first whole 14 lessons of the Course in Miracles is about my mind has nothing but meaningless thoughts. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world.
Mhm.
I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear, which I'm going to say something about. And a meaningless world engenders fear. And God does not create a meaningless world. So lesson 1 and lesson 2, if you really get into the meaning of it and really recognize that you're the one that's giving all the meaning to things that upset you, you can start laughing now
Mhm.
instead of going through the suffering. That's the whole idea of this course. Why go through the suffering? None of it means anything.
Mhm.
Now, the other thing that came up when you use the word soft eyes, Rosalind, and I know a lot of people here love the word soft eyes, I do. Soft eyes is the same thing as lesson 1.
Mhm.
Lesson 1 is nothing I see here means anything.
Mhm.
If you think anything means something, you don't have soft eyes anymore
Mhm.
because you're trying to figure out something and you're trying to analyze it. And I'll get to the bottom of this, right? No, soft eyes is, I have no interest in it. I don't have a focus here in this room. I have soft eyes, you know, it just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You know, my mind is relaxed. I'm not trying to figure anything out anymore. Let me step back and let him lead the way. I don't want to get in the way anymore. You know, that's
No,
soft eyes.
Dev, I just love what you're saying because one has to be there in order to be willing to see from awareness's point of view. One has to be willing to let go, like you say, because otherwise we fight about what the perception is. One has to accept, if one can go straight to laughter, great. But that intermediary step, when you're ready to let it go, but you don't have a new perception yet, it is the purpose of that exercise. But if you're going to believe your thoughts, you won't even bother to change your location, right?
If something bothers you, you can be sure it's the ego that's bothering you. That's why lesson 5 is true.
Totally.
I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm never bothered for anything that I can think is true. Nothing that I'm bothered because I'm listening to a madman telling me to be bothered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% everything you're saying is true. Absolutely.
I'd like to add just one other thing as we're going out the door here. And that is, I read something here earlier. I just want you to know where it comes from. Today's lesson, which is lesson 60, which is the review of lessons 46 through 50. That quote that I gave you earlier, it says, everyone and everything I see will lean towards me to bless me. I will recognize in everyone my dearest friend, in everyone. That means the people you don't like too, by the way. So here it is. This is a review of lesson 48, which is there is nothing to fear. And if there's nothing to fear, you can call yourself fearless. And only the fearless can know God because you're not hanging on to anything anymore. We hang on to fear because we want to defend ourselves. Notice in lesson 153, it says, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. The reverse of that, lesson 135, if I defend myself, I'm attacking myself. So here he says, there's nothing to fear. How safe the world will look at me when I can see it. It will not look like anything I imagine. I see now. Everything and everyone I see will lean towards me to bless me. I will recognize in everyone my dearest friend. What can there be to fear in a world that I have already forgiven, and what has forgiven me? So forgiveness is my function. As you let go of this insanity, and that's what this course is about, letting go of the insanity. The insanity is the ego. So I just want to mention that of course, that there's only two emotions, love and fear. One is real, one is not. As long as I'm in fear, I'm holding on for dear life. The Son of God doesn't have to hold on for dear life. Son of God is life. And I'm just going to post in case anyone wants to go to John Mundy's thing, which starts right now. That's the link. You can go there. And the topic he's doing right now, starting today, March 1, is comparing the teachings of Jesus in the Gospels with A Course in Miracles. I'm going to show up there in about 10 to 15 minutes. I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much, Rosa. I love you all, truly.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. See you next week.
Thanks
Mwah.
so much.